Basically, I think the Israelis are now making something that's quite a historic shift, right? They're basically completely overriding their withdrawal of settlements from 2005, and Netanyahu was firmly aligning himself with the views of the far-right coalition members, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. And the long-term aim is to make sure that Gaza will never pose a military threat again, that Hamas cannot make a resurgence. The big problem is it's really next to impossible to eradicate Hamas militants who have elaborate tunnel infrastructures, and also even harder to find and track groups where there's no diplomatic engagement with even the mediators, like PIJ, the Islamic Jihad. So I think that this is something that will lead to just massive displacements and killings of civilians, and still leaving a Hamas shell and a PIJ shell intact.
Even people within the Israeli government, key figures in the military, have advised against this. You mentioned, of course, that they had occupied Gaza before. What would make it different this time round?
Well, I think it's next to impossible, because we've already seen evacuation orders that have displaced everybody from northern Gaza, pretty much concentrating them to a strip with around 10 or 12% of the enclave's territory. And now we're looking at basically moving even more people out. So it's just going to be pretty chaotic. And the big question is, while this is happening, where are these people going to go? Egypt doesn't want to take in large numbers of Palestinian refugees across their border, and neither does Jordan, which even though it's got a majority Palestinian population. So these people are basically stuck in limbo, and they may have nowhere to go.
So international condemnation almost across the board over this, bearing in mind that Israel's resources will have been depleted as they've been fighting already for 22 months. Can Israel achieve what it wants without help?
Well, there's been a rush from the Western allies, particularly the European allies of Israel, to condemn this move. We've seen some strong statements from Britain and Germany and Netherlands and I think Denmark and France and Canada. So you see, as you can see at the picture here, pretty much lots of people who are there. The same thing is that Israel is also losing even more soft power and credence in the Arab world, with Saudi Arabia leading the way for an Arab opposition to the displacement of Palestinians. And even though Trump has gone along historically with things like the Gaza Riviera, which would imply the displacement of large numbers of people from Gaza, it doesn't seem to be fully behind this plan. I don't think the United States has fully endorsed this plan explicitly. And that may be because Steve Witkoff is frustrated with it, because Witkoff has been trying to get a deal with Hamas by dealing with the Qatari mediation team on the release of the hostages, and this really basically puts that to a dead stop. And inside Israel, it may even be a problem too, because it risks the lives of the hostages, the 20 who are surviving. And so the far right is in support of this, but many Israelis aren't. There's strong Arab and European opposition, and the U.S. isn't fully on board.
So what could potentially happen afterwards? Israel has got this 5-point plan, if you like, for what will happen after, with Arab forces being suggested as somehow being in charge of Gaza after this. How might that work? Could that work?
Well, that would naturally mean that the mediators will suddenly become the executive authorities inside Gaza, so to speak. Egypt has always, and Qatar have always been kind of the guarantors of security. So now they would have to put a presence on the ground. The Qataris will probably, and others will have to invest in the reconstruction of Gaza. But the problem is there isn't really a single Arab view on what basically should take place next. There's a general idea that the Palestinian Authority is probably the rightful body that should take power, but Qatar, for example, is more sympathetic to the idea of Hamas having a residual presence. The UAE is emphatically against that. I might want somebody like Mahmoud Dalan to come in. The Saudis and the Egyptians are probably carving some kind of a middle view. The point is there'll be Arab investment and Arab forces probably on the ground in this scenario, but maybe not a strong Arab consensus. Now the Arab world is united against Israel's displacement of Palestinians. They're not going to be so united about what comes next.